economy of consciousness, meaning consciousness has an economy. What is economy? This is a debatable word. There are many different people with very different definitions, points of view, and ways of framing and defining what economy is. I'll tell you what my definition of economy is, which is essentially the movement that is generated by people doing what it takes to get what they want, choose what they want, and have their lives. So consciousness has an economy, meaning that when you choose more consciousness, all of life, including money, comes to you different. What is consciousness? Consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. How much money, having, resource, energy, do you exclude because it doesn't match your point of view of what's right or real or true, or doesn't match somebody else's point of view of what's right, real, and true? So if you truly desire to have more consciousness, to be more conscious, you essentially include everything, receive everything without judgment. And that's a huge ask. And I know that that can be hugely confronting, because so many of us believe that our points of view and our judgments define who we are, or keep us safe, or make us right, or make others wrong, or, make us fit in. And all of that is true. What we judge does define who we are, and it does make us right, and it does make others wrong, and it does define where we can fit in. And is that what you want to do to yourself? So if you're going to consider consciousness as a valid source of creation, and you took really to heart this thing about including everything and judging nothing, how dynamically, first of all, would you have to change your whole perspective about reality and life, if you started prioritizing including everything and judging nothing? And everywhere that you believe that you cannot include everything, or that including everything is too much, it's too overwhelming, it's too intense, it's too unsafe, it's like, whose point of view is that? So the economy of consciousness is this incredible phenomenon that exists naturally around all of us, that so many of us exclude in favor of the facts, figures, the judgments of this reality. When you are accessing the economy of consciousness, you are essentially in the flow of gifting and receiving. When you are not in the economy of consciousness, you are ultimately controlled by the regulations of quantification, by the exchange rates, by the, if I give this to you, what are you going to give to me, with the give and take of it all, which is a very prevalent point of view and behavior amongst people. Gifting and receiving is less of a prevalent point of view and behavior amongst people, but it is the way that the entire universe works, except for people. Does the sun send the earth a bill for the energy that it is freely being? Do the trees send you a bill for the fruit, for the oxygen, for the microbiome that they produce? Does the river send a bill to the fish? It's only people that think like this. So what does that tell you? Is there another economy going on all around us all the time that we could be accessing? And what would we have to choose? And what would we have to be to have all of that? The first component to accessing the economy of consciousness and the free energy and resource that is all around us all the time The sun is an infinite, for example, the sun is an infinite source of energy. The universe, the earth. We're in a time now where the earth's resources are seeming less infinite because there is so much taking going on. And if you look at nature, nature never stops gifting. Nature never stops creating. It is usually what mankind imposes on nature that creates the limitation or the extinction. Therefore, we must really question our taking points of view and be more honest with ourselves about if we are receiving or taking. Much more on receiving in another section. The first step to accessing the economy of consciousness is essentially to come out of judgment. Consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. And I know saying coming out of judgment sounds like like asking you to just fly off the edge of the earth or accomplish an impossible miracle. However, it's true. If you truly desire to access more, you will have to get into the choosing about judgment rather than into the automatic pilot about judgment. Judgment does not create. Judgment is not a source of anything except for limitation and a dark pit that will always trap you, always stick you, and everybody else. Judgment is not a generative source. Judgment is how you control you, it's how you control others, and it does not give you access. It restricts you from having access. If you could not judge, then what would you have and be? So everywhere you've been looking for the right judgment to make you feel right, to make you fit, to make you look like others, function like others, what if you didn't have to function like others? Would you be willing to have that freedom, even if others don't? The first step to accessing the economy of consciousness is coming out of judgment. The less you judge, the more you will receive. The second component and step towards accessing the economy of consciousness is to be and receive the gift that you be. This is one of the hardest tasks for my fellow humanoids. It's like, how many of you guys believe that essentially you are wrong? You are evil, you are shit, you are crap, you are the worst. And although I'm sure you can find a million reasons for why you're wrong, you are also, in truth, a gift. Everything in nature contributes to the whole. Even the mosquitoes, even the bacterias, even the viruses, even the snakes, even the most unattractive elements are all required for nature to function. Meaning, everything that you think is wrong about you, the most wrong about you, what if that was actually what was strong about you and the gift that you be? And of course, this requires that you come out of judgment, because you're never going to see and be the gift as long as you're judging. Judgment is not a gift. FYI. The reason why being a gift is so important, so required, so relevant is because receiving is not a one-way street. Receiving is a simultaneity of gifting and receiving. Meaning, if you will receive, you must also be the gift. For example, the tree receives the energy from the sun, receives the elements from nature, and simultaneously gifts its fruits, its oxygen, its leaves, its carbon storage. As you gift, so do you also receive simultaneously. And if you will not function, if you will not receive the gift that you be, and if you insist on judging you eternally, you will be blocking the flow of receiving. And remember, you don't have a money problem. You have a receiving problem. So, to be part of the economy of consciousness. Number one, coming out of judgment. Number two, be a gift. I know that might be an impossible task and ask, but that is why you are beginning now and committing to changing your reality dynamically. How fitting that the sun has now come out in the middle of us filming this video. Step one, stop judging. Step two, be a gift. Step three, receive all of the gifts that the universe desires to be for you. Life is a magical experience, and what you ask for, you will receive if you are not controlling that receiving out of existence with judgment. It is very important that you be open and receive without judgment. This is how all of nature works. This is how our entire ecosystem functions. We can be part of the natural ecosystem or we can be apart from nature, above nature, in our heads and out of the infinite flow of possibility. Remember, money is a concept. Money could easily go away tomorrow. What is more real? Gifting, receiving, being. What is possible for you in and with the economy of consciousness rather than the give and take of this reality.